Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to JJ's PC Builds. This is JJ with you once again. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And thank you for all the new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. And also to my veteran subscribers. Thank you for all the love and support you've shown us on the channel. It is much appreciated. Okay, what we're going to do today, we're going to dive right into it. And, well, I got to tell you what it is for the first thing. But what we're going to do today is we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to take and do a bit of a review on the fact of how to update your BIOS on your motherboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the step-by-step so you can see what it's like, and so that way you don't have to be so scared that if you do it, it'll end up breaking your motherboard. So I got a perfect candidate for today. I'm going to use the Asus B450 motherboard. That's a good candidate for the simple fact if everybody's building a low-cost computer, especially that motherboard would be sufficient for the fact of using older graphics cards, or basically I could say if you want to use a Ryzen 7 5700G with it, you know, I mean, you can go without a discrete graphics card. You can use the graphics on the chip. So basically they call it integrated graphics. So what we're going to do is we're going to see what goes on with it, and I'm going to take you through step by step of what's going to be happening today. I know the video's coming out a little late, and I do apologize for it, but I had a long day. Basically, I had to get my teeth cleaned and stuff like that, so, you know, I had to do my thing. So what we're going to do is I got an Fender right here in my hands. It's right here is the Prime B450 motherboard. This is the Prime Offender. So what we're going to do is I'm going to slide the mic over. You guys can hear all that jibber jabber. And what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to the side cameras so that way y'all can see what's going on. Now that we're over on the side camera, one thing I wanted to bring up really quick, when it comes to YouTube and the quality of the videos, if you're running a desktop PC, you can get 1080p. Flip you back to the other one. You can get 1080p off of your desktop, but with your phone or your tablet, I'm not too sure about that. I checked up on my tablet, I checked somebody else's phone, and it seems to be running at 360p. And I do apologize for that, but the videos that are coming out, they are at 1080p. So until, you know, I get a better program to where I can take and push it up to where I can get 4K down here doing these videos, I'm stuck with 1080p. So I do apologize if the videos are not coming out just like they're supposed to be. We're working on it. It's taking time to get there, but we will get there. We will get up to 4K soon enough. So let's go ahead and switch back to the side view. The reason why we got this motherboard here is the fact of this is one I ran for 8 months on the PC that I upgraded not too long ago. But this is going to be another upgrade for the PC, so what we're going to do is we're going to take and pull this out of here, put this on my lap so that way y'all know that, you know, it's going good. What we're going to do is get the box out of the way. We're going to do a little bit of functionality with this motherboard. Okay, now this motherboard is AM4. Okay, it's an AM4 processor that goes here. Either one of these in these boxes, like the 5700X, the 5600G, and the 5600X3D, can run in this motherboard. Okay, the only difference in this motherboard is that if you get integrated graphics, the integrated graphics will run at PCIe 4.0. But if you get an X version or a non-X version, one without a graphics built onto it, it will be running at PCIe 3.0 through the X16 slot, which is here. Okay, it does have M.2. This motherboard's only $79. Okay, this only costs $79, and it's very inexpensive if you're trying to build a low budget gaming computer. I mean, it's got the Asus Aura right here, and I think right here, you know, it's got your 12 volt RGB. But the one thing this motherboard does not have is a 5 volt RGB or ARGB. So that would have to be something separate that you would have to do. If you can go on to Amazon or wherever to get, if you're doing your fan lighting and stuff like that, you can get RGB, but it's kind of hard to find where to find the controllers and stuff for this now these days. But you can get what they call remoted, like I did. I got mine on remote. So I'm not using anything off of the motherboard whatsoever. I'm just using it right here on a remote. So, now, let's get to the explanation of it all. Okay, now, let me see if I can get a pointer. We'll get a pointer. Okay, we got a pointing apparatus. Right here is your BIOS FlashBack. Okay, now, if I remember right, it's one of these ports. Either one of these ports. I'll have to look and see. No, it's one of these ports that you're going to be plugging your SD card. You know, pretty much you just flick your SD card up like this. You'll be using your SD card to plug into the motherboard. Now, you do not, and I repeat this, you do not need a graphics card. No, you don't need a graphics card for this. And get this, you don't need a processor for this to upgrade the BIOS in this motherboard. You don't even need the RAM to update the BIOS in this motherboard. Okay? All you need is the 24-pin connector, which is here, and right here where my finger is, not that finger, but where my finger is right here, this is the power connection that you need that would power up top side here. So if you got that and you got that plugged in, you do not need to turn on the motherboard whatsoever. To put this in, let me just, I know what you do is you'll plug it in there, and then basically you'll hit the button here and hold it down until you see a flashing light. Now, you're wondering to yourself, okay, where do I get the software for this? Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to flip over to the action screen. Okay, so I know you're still watching me right here, but what we're doing is we flip to the action screen. We're going to take and open up DuckDuckGo. Okay, so what you're doing is you're looking for the motherboard, the BIOS for this motherboard. It says Prime B450 M/AII. So what you're doing is you're looking for an Asus B450 M-AII BIOS. So once you type that in and you hit that, then you come up to another page, which will bring you to, you either can do the global, or, basically, if you see this, make sure it'll directly connect to the site. So we click on this, and we come up to this. This is the exact same motherboard we have right here. It says Windows 11 ready, which is true. Now, this motherboard you can use with Windows 11. Now, don't get it wrong. You can use this with Windows 11. It'll hold up to 128 megs of DDR4 RAM. So you can put the max of 128 megabytes of DDR4 on there. So what you do now is you're going to go over to support. Click on support. And then now, since you're in the Prime B450, you can hit driver and utility. Okay, now, down here, you click BIOS and firmware. And here's the latest BIOS that you can use. But they got a show all button, and you click that down. And they got all the previous versions of the BIOSes. So they do have the beta ones. I recommend you don't use the beta. Do not use the beta. See, they got the first one here from 2020 and up. So sometimes you'll see more description. This is 3002. So this will show you everything you need to know about what's going on with the BIOS. So as you move up, you click up and you see what you're looking for, and you just keep moving on down the road. No, best thing to do is to go to the most updated BIOS. Now, I want you all to understand something here. Once you upgrade, and let me make this point clear, very clear to you. Once you upgrade to the most recent BIOS, you cannot go backwards on the BIOS. The BIOS, you won't be able to take and downclock it to a different BIOS. Once you click it to the most up-to-date BIOS, that's it. You can't go backwards. Okay? Now, this motherboard's designed for Zen 1, Zen 2, and Zen 3. Okay? It wasn't so much designed for Zen 3, but they put the update in there to bring you up to the Zen 3. Now, if you don't want Zen 3 and you want to stay in Zen 2 and Zen 1, I would suggest you don't update the BIOS. Okay? Now, once you update the BIOS, going up to past the Zen 3, the 5000 series, all you got to do is look down, go back to the action screen, and keep looking down to see where that begins. So, looking here, it shows you, the tools that you need and improve compatibility and keep moving up forward. Now, this right here allows rebar. This sets in rebar. So this right here is new CPU support. You see how it goes from 0401 to 2409? So once you go, I would imagine, once you go past this right here to the next one, okay, it says new CPU support. This is starting your Zen 3. Now once you clock over to Zen 3, upgrade to Zen 3. You cannot use your Zen 2 or Zen 1 processors in this same motherboard. They will not run in here anymore. Now, if you're wanting to keep your old processors and run with your old processors, I would suggest only add the BIOS updates you need for this motherboard for your Zen 1 and Zen 2. Because once you go up to Zen 3, that's it. You can't come back to Zen 2 or Zen 1. So make very clear that when you take and you update it, you're going to be running on Zen 3, which is the 5000 series. Me, I upgraded this already to the Zen 3 5000 series, but now they have a new patch out, right? A new patch out for vulnerabilities of Ryzen processors and everything and so on. Okay, so basically I can pick this one up right here. Because this BIOS I have not put in this motherboard yet. This BIOS right here is where it is. This is where this motherboard sits with this BIOS here. I haven't updated to this BIOS or this BIOS. So we can take and we can jump all the way up to the next one, which is the most recent. With this motherboard, you can jump all the way up to the top. So what you do is you download your BIOS, you put it in where you want it. I go System Software, and this is Asus. So we will start a new folder, System and Software. We will start a new folder, and we will call this Asus. Okay, so now we have an Asus folder. We can take and hit new folder, and then we can put BIOS in the folder. Okay, now what you do is you put a new folder in here, and then you put B450, or you can put prime. You can put prime, B450, M, period, because you can't put a hyphen in there, or you can't put a separator in there. So put M, period, A, space, II. 4002. Okay, so now you have your folder and you know the BIOS version. So now you put the BIOS version and just hit save. Okay, now we've taken the BIOS, and now we can close out of this and we can go back to the main screen. Alrighty, now let's go back to the action screen. Okay, now what you do is your download folder. You know your download folder, right? System Software. You go into Asus, you go into BIOS, you go into Prime B450. Now, right here, you got to extract it. Right here it says extract here. Okay, now what you can do is you can take and make a new folder and put used. This is how I do it. I put used, so I use this. Now I put that there. That gets that out of the way. Now we don't see it. Now, what you got to do is you got to take the renamer, click on the renamer. Okay, let me pull it up to you. And this is what comes up. So, what it's going to do is it's going to rename the file. And you press any key to continue. And boom, the file is renamed. So now you put the renamer into the use to get it out of the way. Now this is the new file that you're going to be using for the BIOS update. So now you can take and copy this, copy what you just renamed, go to your USB drive, and paste it into your USB drive. Now, the folder's right there. It's pasted into your USB drive. And go to your USB drive, right click, and hit eject. Okay, now we can go to the next screen. Now, this is where it is, the BIOS for this motherboard. What you do is you plug it in where it says, where you can plug it in. Now there's only one USB slot that you can plug this into. And if you don't know, then you know the plate that comes with it, the plate that covers this, usually on that plate will tell you where the destination is. So if you don't know, check the plate that's on the back of the motherboard, will tell you where to plug in your USB. Now, once you plug in your power supply to here and here, you plug your power supply in, the 24 pin and the 8 pin, and you turn on the power, but do not turn the power on the motherboard. Just like this. This is exactly the way you want it. You just want the 24 pin and the 8 pin plugged in. Nothing else. Then you take your USB drive, you plug it in, and then the little button right here, where my finger is, right here, you hold it in, and there'll be like it'll be like an LED light, which is on the side right here, and then you hold it, and it'll start flashing. Now, key trick: do not turn off the motherboard. Do not disconnect the power. You disconnect the power, you can brick the motherboard. Okay? So when that flashing light turns off, give it 2 extra minutes. Do not remove this. Let it sit for 2 extra minutes to confirm that the BIOS has updated automatically. And then after that, it should be it. So you unplug this from the motherboard. Once it's done flashing, after a couple minutes, you gave it a couple minutes to make sure that it's done flashing, and then you can save this right here for another day, in case you need the BIOS again, which once you install it onto the motherboard, you're not going to need the BIOS again. Just to let you know that. So after you get done doing that, then you can put your processor in and build your system. It's just that easy. It's not a hard thing to do. Okay? Now, to do it, it's not hard. That I just walked you through the steps that I went through to get this motherboard up and running with Zen 3, the 5000 series chips. Now, it will work. This will work with a lot of the Ryzen 5000 series chips. So let's say you don't want to get a graphics card right now, but you want to pick up like let's say you want to pick up Ryzen 7 5700G. So let's go to the action screen. So that's going to be your next accomplishment. So you go back online and you go in and you type in Amazon, right? So, and then you go to Amazon. You go to the top. I usually change this to computers. And then here you want to type in Ryzen 7 5700G. If that's the route you want to go, then the 5700G is 8 core, 16 thread. It's $177. Okay? That's if the route you want to go. Do remember, the Ryzen 7 5700G has not just got integrated graphics on it. It is still a processor. You know, it's still a processor. So, and later on down the road, if you decide you want to put in a graphics card, you can with the 5700G. You could use a discrete graphics card, just like here on this motherboard. You can put a discrete graphics card here. So you figure the cost and everything else. So you figure $177.10. That's not too bad for the 5700G because you're not getting a discrete graphics card. Okay. Now, usually with the motherboard combos that they got, now there's an if you get a B550 motherboard, okay, now this right here looks like a great combination. So this is the B550 motherboard, the Wi-Fi 2. This will work. You don't really have to mess with the BIOS on this one. When you go to set up and install it, you know, basically, yeah, you will have to update the BIOS. And that's usually on all motherboards. You know, you got to update it to get everything up to date. So looking at this, so grabbing a calculator. Now I know y'all love my calculator because the way I do it. Okay, so you take 307.09 minus 177.10. So that tells me that the motherboard cost $129, $130. So you're getting a motherboard for $130. You're getting a processor for $177. That equals you out to $307. Okay, that's not too bad. That's a pretty good deal right there. That is a really good deal. So, unless you want to go to the 5600G, but you know, you're only looking at $50 more, you know, to go to the 5700G, which will give you better graphics, I would think, than the 5600G, because guess what? I have the 5600G right here. So, and I've seen the reports on the 5700G is a lot better, you know, than the 5600G. So, just my opinion. There's many processors you can deal with. Let's say you want to go with the graphics card and everything else, then you can go with the graphics card. But do remember, using this kind of motherboard, you know, you're going to be using this kind of motherboard. I wouldn't really recommend a graphics card with it. Even though it's 3.0x16, you can still get away with using a graphics card with this. Okay? I did. I'll be honest with you. My RTX 4070, my Asus RTX 4070, plugged into this motherboard with the 5600G and ran fine. Wasn't the greatest of speeds, but you can move, if you want to move up to B550, or you're just trying to put yourself onto a budget deal, then, you know, this one's probably $80, $79.99, $80. You know, you can get yourself, and still it'll put, you know, you can put Windows 11 on this, and you can get the 5700G. But if you want to do the route of going to like a deal like this, you know, this would be a great deal for you. Or you can take and type bundles. Ryzen 5700G bundles. So they give you different motherboards. You got another B550 motherboard right here. You know, if this is the one you want to go with, I'm sure there's many other motherboards that you want to go with. You know, I mean, get this one with, but that's 431. I wouldn't pay that. That would be a little too high. You know, it'd be ridiculous. You know, but if you keep looking down the list, you find something that you might want. Like this has got the Asus Tough right here. 5700X, 8 gigabytes, 369. That's if you want to go with a discrete graphics card. This would be the perfect system for that. You know, keep moving down the road. I mean, they got this one right here. This doesn't look like it's got a lot of VRM coverage. So this one looks like it's a pretty decent one. B550 for 129. That's still going to come out to the same price as that 307 one, but that was using an Asus motherboard. This is an MSI. The MSI MPG B550. See, this is 100. You save $20. So this is 129. So that, and if you want to do the Ryzen 7 5700G, it's still going to be around $307. So, you know, you can always pick your flavor and what you want for a motherboard. You know, all I can do is tell you where to go get one. They got this paired with the 5600X, which, truthfully, single thread, the 5700G would be a lot better. Multi-thread, the 5600X would be, you know, right there, even line with the 5700G. So, just to let you know that, you know, I got the 5700X in here right now. I can tell you toe to toe the 5700X is way faster than the 5600G. But in a low budget build, then that's understandable. But if you want best of both worlds, where you want an iGPU, integrated graphic processing, so, and if your graphics card, if let's say you get the integrated graphics with the 5700G, you get a motherboard like this, an MSI motherboard, right? The B550. You know, you can update the BIOS. You know, go to their site, go to the newest BIOS, update the BIOS. You can do that right on your platform. It's not hard to update the BIOS. You can update the BIOS basically going into, you know, you're starting, how you hit the delete key or the F2, you can go in that way. But far as if something like this, if you get BIOS flashback on a motherboard, usually you can do it the same way every time. If you're not comfortable with going into the BIOS, then this would be the best way to go on the USB stick. Okay? This would be your best way to go on a USB stick. So, if that's what you want to do. Now, all I'm doing is I'm giving you an idea of what you're seeing right here and right here. I'm showing you that the top of the VRMs are covered and the side of the VRMs are covered. So, you can see the top and the sides are all covered. You know, And I think that looks like a awesome board. And run it with the 5700G or whatever your flav is, that's up to you. But, you know, you can update the BIOS. It does look like you can, you know, it gives you a lot of things with this. So, looks like you can update the BIOS on this. So what you do is you look and make sure that when you're getting ready to update the BIOS, you read every detail. See right here, this is a good thing. This motherboard right here, this MSI motherboard, maximum RAM, DDR4, 128 gigabytes. It'll go up to 4400 on clock speed, so that's not bad neither. So, and it tells you right here, 4400 OC, lightning fast experience. Now, what I'm looking for is to see if, see right here, it's got a flash BIOS button. So that means this motherboard has BIOS FlashBack. So, you can, right here, restore the BIOS to the default settings without any additional actions. So that means it's a really good BIOS. So right there, simply use a USB key, which would be something like this, to flash any BIOS within seconds. So that looks like a really good deal. So now you get you pick up $130 motherboard. Okay, so now you picked up the $130 motherboard, but you decided, you said, okay, well, you know, under recommendations and everything else, I want the 5700G. So you pick up the 5700G. Okay, usually they'll recommend you with the motherboard. Now, the way Amazon works, they'll take and they'll recommend you with the motherboard. See, they'll put you at the B550 Plus, which this is not a bad motherboard for $129. So, and they'll pair you up with this SSD drive, a 1 terabyte SSD drive. I would wait on that. Be honest with you, I would wait on that. You can get the processor, the motherboard, all for $306.77. Now, so now you put, and I could have went through PC Part Picker to pick all this up, but I wanted to do it manually. I didn't want to look through everything on one list, and you know, y'all didn't see everything. You know, they give you different things. Now, right here, 3200 megahertz, $40. So now this is where your calculator comes out, right? So what you're doing is you're checking the total price on what you're doing here. Okay, let's say you want this motherboard. This is the motherboard you want. Prime boards are not bad. This one doesn't look bad at all. But the motherboard you want is the MSI motherboard, so that's $130 that you already picked up. Let's see. Let me move this over. So the $130 you just picked up, now you add that to the $177.10, right? So now you spent $307. Look at the difference. Getting a better motherboard than, you know, not knocking Asus. Asus, I'm not knocking you. So, but for like $1 and some change, getting a better motherboard with the processor, you can't beat that. Now that you already picked up your motherboard and your processor, Now we go and look for DDR4 RAM. So now we come over here and we type in DDR4 RAM. Okay, now we're looking for DDR4 RAM. CL16, 16 gigabytes, 32. You can get OLO for $35.99. You can get 32 gigabytes for $69. This one right here is 3200 CL16, 3200 CL16, 32, 32. Now, let's say you want to get creative. They got Kiev. They got 32 gigabytes of gaming, DDR4 gaming OC memory, 4000 megahertz, CL19, XMP 2.0 desktop gaming memory. That right there, that for 89 bucks, that's for 4,000 megahertz. That is kind of a, ooh, that's kind of thinking about it, you know. I mean, I never heard of them, but I'm not too sure about them. But you're getting 4.5 stars, almost 5 stars on this, and 515 acknowledged it. And it's kind of making me a little bit leery about it, just a little bit. So if I can't find anything else that's close to that price, now, if I can't find anything else that's close to that price on that frequency and everything else, then that might be something to go and mess with, you know. So we'll go to the top and we'll put 4,000 right here. 32 gigs is pretty much what you really need. So, I mean, this is 93, this is 65. Okay, now this is 67. $67. T-Force Vulcan Z. T-Force is not bad. Team Group, that's not bad memory at all. Now, 8190, you got Ripjaws right here. You know, you probably can go with the Ripjaw 4000 series. This would, a lot of people would have said, you know, get your hands on that. That would have been better, you know. Or, you know, you got the Trident Z, you know, G-Skill Trident Z. A lot of people are using those. You know, 97. You got the Corsair Dominator Platinum RGB 32. If you got the extra money to spend, then the Dominator Platinum right here would be a perfect series for you. Okay. Now they got the Z Neo that you can go with, the G-Skill Z Neo for $100. Or if you're looking for a blacked out version, they got the Corsair Vengeance LPX 32 gigabytes of DDR4 4000 for 104. They got Patriot Viper. You know, they got many of them. If you're not looking to put RGB into your RAM, and you don't want to deal with the RGB on your RAM, and you just want to go tight end, then you can go right here and get Corsair Vengeance. This is easier to be blacked out than anything. So, and plus I use Corsair Vengeance anyway. So 4000 series, CL19, perfect. Say you're going to get that, you want the blacked out version. So we put on 104, right? So move this back up. Oh, there we go. 104. Okay, now it's Okay. So now we go back to 307.10. Okay, add on 104.99 equals $412. That's what you would have spent for the motherboard, the processor, and the RAM. Okay. Let's say you wanted to go hardcore on the RAM because you wanted more speed. That's a good choice. That is a really good choice, especially if you're using the 5700G for an iGPU. It'll use that extra little speed to help boost up the processing. So that would have been a good choice. So now we got to go look for, let's say we want an M.2 drive. M.2 SSD. So now we go look for an M.2 SSD. You can find them all day long for a good price. Like they got this one right here. This one right here for $37.79. That's not a bad price. They got one here for $119. They got the 970 Evo 1 terabyte for $49. That's a good price right here. $50 for 1 terabyte. That's not a bad price. Okay. Now, if you're trying to narrow it down, you can narrow it down. Just keep scrolling down. They got this one right here, the Western Digital Black SN770, $45.99. You keep scrolling down. They got Silicon Power for $34.97. Now, shopping for your drives, your M.2 drive, you have to be careful of the speeds. Now, if you get one that's not at great speeds, then you're not really going to be getting busting speeds like you want. So, if you're wanting, hellacious speeds, then basically I would pick the 1 terabyte Crucial P3. Now, I would go with the Crucial 1 terabyte P3. Okay, that's just my bet, because in my computer now I got the Crucial P2 3x4 running my operating system. So, but mine cost $56 back then. Now this one costs $47, and you get 1 terabyte. So let's add on $47.26. So we add on $47.26. Okay, so now you have the M.2 drive, you have the motherboard, you have the processor, and you have your RAM. Now you got all the system internals of the computer, but there's a but. Now you got to worry about the cosmetic outside, and you got to worry about the cooler for your processor. Now, since it's a 65 watt processor, and believe it or not, it's 65 watts. So you look for processor coolers. Okay, now, and if you want to keep it down to where it's at a reasonable price, then put in $25 to $50. Okay, best kind of cooler you're going to get is at $25 to $50. Okay, so looking through and picking, you just don't pick any cooler. Do yourself a favor. You're going to have, you're building up to the point of where you're going to do RGB. So now you're going to build up to where, you know, you want to find something that's good enough with RGB. Okay. This right here. The John's bow, the CR1400 RGB for 26 bucks. That's the same one I got in my system right now. So, just to let you know that's the same one I got in my system right here for $26.99. 27 bucks. When I got mine it was $19.99. So, but I'll tell you what, 5700X, it struggles on the 5700X. So 5700G, I know it's probably going to struggle. So what we want to do is we want to find something that's better. So let's say you say, well, I want to go AIO cooler. So we type in AIO. And, you know, you got a 240 right here. ARGB, you know, 69 bucks. You got a Cooler Master right here. AIO, 149. So keep $69.99 in your mind. And if what we'll do is we'll put maximum $70 and hit go. So this way you can see what you can get for 70 bucks. Okay. So PWM fan, ARGB. Now getting the B550 motherboard, you do have ARGB on it, so that makes it a good thing. So, but you got a blacked out version, right? You got a blacked out version. So you're looking for something that's going to be really cool, that you're really going to like, you know, and you want something that just, it makes more sense. You know, that's what you're looking for. Something that makes more sense. Now, even this makes more sense because this has the temperature on it. See, this is the W90, but I don't think the W90 will keep up with that processor. I could be wrong, but I definitely could be right. So, you know, I'd rather be in the wrong than the right. Okay, now if you're looking for something like this for 59 bucks, I don't think that would be, the 120 would be good enough. That's why you keep looking down. And, you know, this is AM5, so that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. You know, you're looking for AM4. That's what you're looking for, AM4. Now, for 67 bucks, this one I like. This one I like, right here. But we got to make sure this is, because it's an AM4 build, right? We have to make sure that it does have an AMD bracket, Intel bracket. See, this is what I search for. It comes with thermal compound, the screws, comes with an AMD bracket, but we have to make sure that it's AMD AM4 series, you know, which it says it right here. So it's AMD AM4 AM5 series right here. So now for $67.90 you get a 360 Thermalright. This right here is an awesome deal. Right here. Awesome deal. $67.90. Now, you put $67.90. You add 67.90, and you add the 459.35, that brings you up to 527. Now you got superior cooling on that processor. I know this is going to be a little long video, so do bear with me. This is going to be a long video. Okay, I can tell you that right now. We're up 55 minutes, almost 1 hour, so it's going to be a long one. But I want to take you through the steps. You know, the steps of, updating the BIOS and everything else. So pretty much on most motherboards, they pretty much run the same on updating the BIOS. So it's the same principles. So just make sure you check with the manufacturer. They'll give you a chart on the BIOS updating. They should. But if they don't, I'm sure that no matter if I go to an MSI motherboard or whatever motherboard, should be the same steps when it comes to BIOS FlashBack. So should be the same steps. So now you have all the components for your motherboard that's going to get you in rocking. Now we're coming to the fact of, now you're saying to yourself, okay, now I got all these nice parts. What am I missing? Well, what you're missing is, let's go to your PC case. Okay, so now you got the matter of your PC case. Now you can look, since this is an ATX motherboard that you're going to be putting in, you have to know how much you're spending. So now you look at your budget, it's up to $527.25. You can go cheaper when it comes to picking up the motherboard and stuff like that. If you go to different sites and you pick it up used, you could probably pick it up for half price. But I'm going to tell you right now, I would rather get a 3-year warranty from Amazon and a 2-year warranty from the manufacturer. Right there and then. That would be my key role to you. I would not go anywhere near eBay and all that, because when you're buying somebody else's headache, you're getting it more headaches. So do yourself a favor, don't get into that headache. So now we'll go backwards. Now we're over here on the cases. Let's say you got $50 to $100 to spend. Okay, you got $50 to $100 to spend. Now you have to know how many fans are in a case. Usually you're best off with 6 fans in a case. Minimal, 6 fans. So, but do remember the 360 you got's got 3 fans. So that leaves you room for, depending on the case you buy, you can put in 6 more fans or 3 more top fans, or you can use the radiator on the top side for your 3 and put 3 front fans. So you can do that too. Now you have an option. You can look for case without fans and do yourself a favor and just buy a $50 case. You can find some decent cases for $50. The way this is set up, I wouldn't buy that. Anything that's got a glass front in that, I would go more or less like mesh front. Something like this. This would be pretty cool. It's $89. This one's even better. Let's just say you want to get something like this. Make sure. See, this comes with 6-piece 120 millimeter ARGB fans. So guess what? You just saved yourself a ton of money. But the thing is right here in the front, you got glass front, but with ported sides. Right here. So, but do remember this. You can probably unscrew the front of that and leave it open front. That's what I did to mine. I took the glass piece out from the front of it and just left it open front. It looks just as good. I don't even need the glass in the front. So, but you get 6 fans, you get a better deal with this. And they're all ARGB fans. Okay, now that you got something that you're looking at that's really nice, now all you got to do is make sure that the fans are Aurora Sync, which they are. They will work with Aurora. They'll work with MSI. Since you got an MSI motherboard, they'll work with ASRock, MSI, and Asus. So you got 3 functionalities. That case looks pretty good. And this shows what you can do in this case. So this gives you a good idea of what the case is going to be like. Now for the price of $91.99 and you get 6 fans, you know, that's not too bad. That is not too bad. So let's just say you grab this case and this is what you want. Okay, so now you got the case with the fans. Okay, now you got the case with the fans, but you found something better. Let's say you get this one. Pre-installed fans, ARGB lighting. That depends on if the length of the case, okay, not the width, the length and the height. If you got 3 fans on the height going upwards, and you need, for the top section, you need at least 360 on the top. You can get 240 on the top, so you can put 2 fans on the top and put 3 in the front. You can do that, but you need the right case with a good amount of airflow. So I think in all, if you look for a diamond mesh, this gives you 4 RGB fans. This looks perfect for $75.99. Okay, so we add on $75.99. Okay, now that comes with your fans. Problem eliminated. Now that you got everything, you got one last piece to pick up. One last piece, and that's the power supply. Okay. So we type in PC, PSU. Now, you have to decide what kind of fan you're going to, or what kind of power supply you're going to want. Okay, and what budget you're going to have for this power supply. So let's just say you want to do 50 to 100 bucks. Okay. Now the 850s are not bad, but always when you're shopping, always look. This is 80 plus gold for 99 bucks. It's an 850. 750 you can get tough power, 80 plus gold, and this has got an EPS 12 volt because the new video cards come with the EPS. I think, you know, you can always do that or just stay old school. You know, if you want to do modular, that's up to you. If you don't want to do modular, that's up to you again. Okay. Now, I would suggest, if you're going to get a power supply, to have it above 850 watts. You can go 750, that's kind of torching it a little bit, but 850 would be great as well. So even this one right here is for $54.99, is the smart right here. 80 plus white certified. I don't know what white certified is. That's the first I'm hearing of that. But, you know, if you're not too sure of it, plus bronze. I got a plus bronze one right here. It's a 750. Keep searching until you find the right power supply you want. You never know. They could pop out with 1,000-watt power supply. You know. And do remember that. They could pop out with 1,000-watt power supply. You know. In the price range you're looking for. So, this one comes 500 watts with EPS power. Fully modular. ARGB. I don't like ARGB too much on a power supply because you can't see it unless you're putting it down, firing it down. But what are you going to look underneath the case? Is it going to show you underneath the case the lighting of the fan? Not through all those holes, you ain't going to be able to do it. So it's not really showing you much when you're trying to look, you know, for something, you know, with ARGB, looking it through all that grill and having it light up enough for it to light up the bottom of the floor, you know, of the, you know, where your PC is going to be sitting at. You don't even know if the feet are going to be high enough to show any ARGB that's underneath the case, you know, your PC case. So why get RGB if you're not going to show the bottom side of your case? You're just showing the inside of your case. That's basically the inside and the front outside. That's basically where you want to show it. You know, that's what makes the case pop, I think. On your power supply, I don't think that's worth it. I think that's just a gimmick for you to buy it. You know, that's just gimmicking you to buy it and just having more problems down the road. You know, if the lighting goes out on it or, you know, the fan goes out on it, then you got to worry about what? Getting a match, and then you're looking at more problems. So, you know, always remember there's a way to get something that would really work. Like this one right here. This one right here. Let's see, for $64.99, it's 900 watt, 80 plus bronze for $64.99. But the problem I'm having with this is right here. Right here. This is where I got the problem with it. See, this would never work on your motherboard that you're trying to do. So this right here, you got to be careful in what you buy. You got to be really careful in what you buy. So looking for a power supply, it's really going to be a tough call. You know, it's going to be a really tough call. You know, let's just say you say the hell with it. You just want 1,000-watt power supply and be done. Okay, go back to any price. So you say you want 1,000 watts. So type in not 100. 1,000 watts. See, my typing is really bad today. There. See, I even got help on Amazon. They typed it in for me. This is not bad right here for 119. They say this is the choice. You know, Well, you can always go with those cables, but you're limited on what you can do. So I would prefer something that I know that's going to last you a long time. That's how you judge this in this fashion. So they don't have much at $100. So this one might be the one you want right here. So this one right here. This gives 12 volts, 83.3 amps at 999.6 watts. I don't know how they come up with that, because I'm only looking at 833 watts. Even though that still says that, I'm still looking at the amount of amperage. I'm still looking at the amount of amperage right here. Take the amperage and add a 0 to the end of that, and it's only 833 watts for the 12 volt power. So that might be the surge. This might be for the surge up to 1,000 watts. So it's rated at 833 watts, surges to 999.6 watts. So it's not a full 1,000 watt power supply. If it was a full 1,000 watt power supply, it would surge past the 1,000 watts up to like 100 or 200 watts more. So still, it's not, for 119, that's not bad. It's not too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad. This shows you what kind of pins that you got. Okay, let's see. Molex. Wow. And SATA, you got 6 SATA drives. You got CPU, you got 2 8+4s. You know, you got 2 4x4s. That's not bad. That's pretty good. You got 1 6x2. You got 2 6x2s, 3. You got 4 6x2s. I need to look at this a little bit better. PCI connectors, you got 5 of them. CPU connector, you got 1 of them. SATA, you got 6. Motherboard, you got 1. You got Molex and FDD. That means floppy disk drive. I don't know why they would put that in there for 1,000 watt PSU. But still, if you look at it, you can still run a 4090 off of this. It's just it'll handle it. I don't see why it wouldn't. This would run a 4090. So if you ever thought about getting like an RTX 4090, this will run it. I mean, it should. But let's say that this is the power supply you want, because yes, you might use the Molex just for say. Some people do. Some people like the Molex because they're thick wired. I always known the Molex to be a thick wired Molex. So as long as it's not ketchup and mustard. And that's one thing you got to worry about, the wires. Look at that. No ketchup and mustard wires. Not one. Look at that. Perfect lengths, too. So for 1,000 watts, 119 bucks. Okay, so we say 119, we add that to the bill. We go 119.99 equals $723.23. Now that's not including the warranty that you would take and add to this. It might bring it up to about 750 bucks. And you're saying to yourself, well, if you spend that kind of money, why am I spending that kind of money? You're asking yourself this. Why am I spending that kind of money? Well, the economy, inflation, it's basically moved the prices up to where we can't control the prices. This is the prices off of Amazon. If you can find it lower than $723.23, that's up to you. All I can do is tell you where the deal is. So this is the conclusion. I showed you all the parts that if you wanted to pick up something decent that's going to game, it's going to cost you $723.23. Okay. I know it doesn't come with the graphics card, but you still, later on down the road, you still have that option to add a graphics card to it. You got a 1,000 watt power supply, you got a B550 motherboard. Even if you didn't want to do the AM4 series, you could still go to the AM5 series. Let's say you don't want to do the AM4 series and you want to go to the AM5. Well, then they got motherboards and processor and everything that's pretty much close to the AM4, what I just showed you here. So you can go to an AM5 series and pay about almost the same price. Depending on what kind of RAM you pick up, that's going to determine how much that's going to cost. But overall, you're still going to be looking, if you're starting from scratch, for the motherboard and for the case, everything, the whole 900 yards, you're still looking to pay that amount of money no matter what. But there's going to be a caveat to that. Now, over in the AM5 series, the iGPUs are not as great as the 5700G. I can tell you that they're really not. 5700G and the 5600G are really good processors. In my opinion, I think those are better than, the newer ones, especially people that are looking to have a better gaming experience. A 5700G has a better gaming experience, I think. Or to go to Intel for their UHD and go through all their headaches with their onboard graphics, which that's the reason why I didn't go with Intel. Intel's got like a headache after headache with their UHD drive, their UHD graphics, built onto the processor. So that's the reason why I stayed with AMD. So until I see something different, they put something better in front of the table that says it's better, then I'll think about going over there. Until then, I'm not thinking about going over there until then. They might persuade me and say, hey, we got something better than what you got cooking now. Then I'll say, okay, well then prove it to me. Send it to me, prove it to me. Show me you got something better than what I got here now. Show me you got something better than the 5700G. Show me you got something better. And that's what I want to see. Not a lot of people can afford graphics cards. Not a lot of people can afford good graphics cards, especially when they're costing between $400, $500, and $600. And then when you get a graphics card, then you got to spend $200, and if you got one, does it really give you a great gaming experience? That's the whole point. To have the best gaming experience ever. Now, if you go for the cheaper cards to play 4K, you might as well just take and throw your money out the door. That's basically what you're doing, throwing your money out the door. So, what I think is if you want a good 4K experience, then you're going to spend top dollar to get the 4K experience. Now, 1440p and 1080p, that's where you need to be. I mean, you'll get just as good experience off of 1080p and 1440p than you would just like with 4K. But at least with 1440p, it's right in the middle. It'll give you just great. And let's say you can't afford to get a 1440p monitor. You got a 1080p monitor. Okay? Look at what you have to work with. If you're working with the 1080p monitor, or it's a TV that has HDMI, you can plug in a computer to it and you play games off of your TV. It's the same thing. I play right here. My computer is connected to a regular TV. Okay, that's a 1080p TV connected right to it. Okay, now my computer is connected to a 1080p monitor that's above it. So, I got two 1080p monitors. Okay, no, I don't have 1440p yet, and I do apologize. I will get it sooner or later. So, just letting you know, if you're looking for great gaming with great FPS and everything else, just stick with what you know. That's going to work out for you. What you can afford. Now, a lot of people were going to these buy used PCs off of eBay, like old Dells with like the 48 or 6400, fourth gen, sixth gen, 10th gen, working with those and to get a better gaming experience. So by the time you get done buying all that experience over there, you would have spent about almost close to the same amount of money trying to get this one, to build this one that you just got from Amazon. So, but there's a caveat to it. I mean, trust me, there's many things you can do. If you get one from a friend that's used and say, okay, well, I'm going to build up from that. So look at your motherboard, see what kind of processor's on there, see if you can upgrade the processor. That's one way to do it. And upgrade the cooler to something that would work really well for a high amount of heat. And then if you got the extra cash, just get yourself a $300, $400 graphics card. $200, $300, $400 graphics card, whatever your budget allows. Now, if we really wanted to go on a budget build, we could have went with the B450 motherboard for $79.99. We could have went with the 5600G, and then we could have gotten the RAM, 4000 megahertz CL18 RAM for the same price. And then put everything together, and you would have spent, if you're taking your old computer out, and you're just replacing like the power supply, you're replacing the motherboard, the processor, the RAM, the cooler, but you got everything else inside it. So that saves you money right there. So you can think about that too. And if you don't have enough money for a graphics card, then you can spend $300, $400, $500 on just a basic small PC. You can spend about $500 on a good gaming PC. So either way you look at it, it's not hard. You just got to shop for what you want. That's all you got to do, is shop for what you want. Okay. Now, if you want a cheaper processor, you can go with the 5500. Or, you know, I got a 5600G. So, and with the price being, you know, fluctuating, you know, with the 5600G going from 109 up to 129, going back and forth, sooner or later the price is going to drop below $100. And guess what? It's going to be an inexpensive processor that you can plug in with the 40 series NVIDIA, like I did. So, what I paid for my motherboard, my processor, and my RAM, I paid less than, at the time, less than about $400 for the B450 motherboard, for the 5600G, and 16 gigs of RAM. So that's what, you know, gave me less than $400 back then. Now you can still spend that and get a B550 motherboard. So that's something to think about too. You spend about the same amount and you get a B550 motherboard. So it's a really good deal. It depends on what you want. And ooh, lordy, I made this video like almost forever. I was just wanting to take you all through, look at, you know, some of the things you can do to either upgrade your system or build you a complete system. Either way you look at it, you can always take, you know, and, you know, get the right parts, match it, boom, you're done. So, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. Thank you all the new subscribers. Welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. And my veteran subscribers, like always, much love to you for all the love and support. So, we're going to go ahead and jump out of here until the next time. Oh, wait a minute. Let me explain something. Wednesday, I will try my best to get a video out. If you don't see one on Wednesday, that's because I got tied up. Just to say. So don't be surprised if I don't show one on Wednesday. But I will have one on Thursday if I don't show up on anything on Wednesday. So just a helpful reminder. But anyway, until the next time. And I mean the next time. And the next video. This is JJ on JJ's PC Builds. We will see you on the next one.